Rent a Girlfriend Season 4 is coming out, and I just want people who have their hopes up to know that there's no point in watching this season. Rent a Girlfriend is one of the worst manga series, and if you're looking for progress, Season 4 is not where it's going to happen. And I'll just go ahead and say right up front, I think the author of this series is one of the biggest pieces of garbage when it comes to milking his fans in a dishonest fashion, right along with George R. R. Martin. Winds of Winter's coming any day now, right after the confession from Chizuru to Kazuya. There'll be spoilers from here on out. So to give you some idea of what you should expect for Season 4, this arc is going to start at about chapter 185, 190. The manga is currently at chapter 380, and they're still not together. If the current pacing continues for the whole 24 episodes of Season 4, you'll be around chapter 300 somewhere, and still not even fucking close to any kind of actual progress. This doesn't even get into the author's general writing style. First of all, if this were a more tightly written series, it'd probably only be at like chapter 150 at this point. There's so many wasted panels and repetitive bullshit with Kazuya just gushing over Chizuru. When you're talking about 380 chapters, to give you some idea, you have entire series like Tokyo Ghoul and Tokyo Ghoul Ray that are combined like 340 something chapters, and they fit an insane amount of story into those chapters. The entire Demon Slayer series is like 250. Kaguya-sama Love is War is like 280s. And these are series that fit in numerous characters and side characters and give them full backgrounds and stories of their own. Rent a Girlfriend focuses almost solely on Kazuya, Chizuru, and then if you want to throw in Ruka, Sumi, and Mami, but probably 80% of it is just Kazuya focusing on Chizuru. And to me, at some point, it's just disrespectful to the people that are paying for your story and have made you rich to keep baiting them, keep inferring a promise that the story will reach a conclusion, that things will develop and progress. And this arc is the embodiment of that. When I first started reading Rent a Girlfriend and caught up, it was actually just a little bit after this arc. And I thought that this arc had to be the climax for the story to make any sense, because it was already kind of dragged out to get to this point to begin with. Because this arc ends around chapter 230, 240, which is a pretty good length for a rom-com or romance or drama, whatever you want to categorize this as. After this arc, what you get left with is she ghosts him for 3 months and essentially resets the story again. So you've got all the little arcs to begin with. You've got obviously the movie arc. I think a lot of people thought was going to be the climax. And then this arc where it gets revealed that she was a rental. They have their first kiss. Mommy shows up and you get her whole backstory and everything from her end. And instead, it just does a hard reset. You get some bullshit. And then 150 chapters later, they've had one date where she rejected him at the end of it, or at least temporarily rejected him. So that's what you had to look forward to if you watch this season. More broadly speaking about the writing of this manga in general, I think it's just an atrocity. The author has essentially fired all of his bullets and now is just prolonging the story, trying to figure out how he could add drama in and milk his fans for a little bit more money. A lot of the character development and payoffs that you would want have already taken place. Like her grandmother cannot be brought back from the dead. Her getting exposed as a rental girlfriend can't happen twice. In the story at this point, they live together for like a month, which of course has been probably 130 chapters because of the way this guy drags everything out. And in general, the longer your setup is, the bigger the payoff needs to be. And at the end of the day, when you're talking about a drama, a romance, rom-com, whatever, the highest payoff that you can get is a confession, is them getting together. And it's gone on so long that even some of the biggest simps of the series have turned on it. And at this point, anyone still paying for it or reading it and supporting it is essentially the real life equivalent of Kazuya, who's spent, I'm guessing, tens of thousands of dollars on Chizuru, only to be rejected over and over and over. And to be clear, I'm not saying that she's obligated to say yes because he spent money or anything, but at some point, once his feelings have been explicitly put out there, which they have ad nauseum, and she keeps taking money from him and spending time with him, she just becomes kind of a bitch. Whenever that point is for you, obviously it's subjective. And the same goes for him. At some point, he's just a completely irredeemable fucking idiot. I would imagine many people thought he reached that point long ago. So the author is now put himself in a position where the payoff simply cannot be worth it. And my guess is that even though we're at chapter 380 something, that you still have to deal with Ruka and Mami and Umi all before you get the confession, I'm guessing. Obviously, you can deal with that stuff after if you want to. But if that all gets dealt with beforehand, you could legitimately be looking at 500 chapters with them still not being together. So I'm not going to go on too long. Hopefully, if someone watched this, it saved you some time. I honestly believe this is one of the worst mainstream series as far as this genre goes out there. I completely believe the author is an absolute piece of shit and he has no respect for his fans and his fans have no respect for themselves. And if you're interested in rom-coms or romance, there's a million other better stories that won't spit in your face and waste your time and bait you over and over and over. Hilariously enough, it's gotten to the point where the story's dragged on so long that the original antagonist of the series, people are reconsidering. So that's where you're at. If you continue with this anime, manga, however you're consuming it. I'm gonna leave it here for this one. If you've read this shit or watched it, I guess let me know what you think. I try to respond in the comments that aren't just insults, but fuck this series. Like and subscribe and all that shit. Thanks. See ya.